Chapter 2 now. Horses don't get to choose. Fleeka felt apprehended about Mr. Jones from the moment he saw him striding across the yard, tapping a whip on the side of his long black riding boots. As he watched the man approach, Fleeka's eyes widened and his ears stood to attention. A long-legged man with his broad shoulders, Jones was smartly dressed in a tweed jacket with a shirt and tie, when his cream-colored jodhpurs bagged around the top of his thighs, and his wristband on his hips as if he struggled to reach down the whole length of his legs. Jones' sharp blue eyes flickered their focus of attention so quickly that Fleeka struggled to work with him out. Jones marched around like he owned the place, but Fleeka could sense tension in the man. He was loud and active, he was in charge, but his breathing and the whole aurora around him shouted something else to Fleeka. What is fear? Anger? What is it? What was it? Whatever it was, it made Fleeka nervous. "What's this spotted sports horse of yours, then?" demanded Jones, tapping his whip faster. "Potential sports horse potential," said Philippi. "He was very talented to the special gaits of the Icelandic horse, and he has a lot of energy, but, as I said on the phone, he's young and he will need bringing on slowly. This is him." Philippi reached over the fence to ruffle Fleeka's forelock. He called Fleeka, she said, sounding out his name. "She knows what she's talking about," Fleeka thought, as he tapped effectively at Fleeka's hands. "Talented, that's me. I can," Fleeka hesitated, "recommend a good instructor near you." "Instructor!" barked Jones. "I am not a beginner." No, Mr. Jones, I know you're not an experienced horseman. I was suggesting I didn't mean it's just the development of the gaits don't require specialist knowledge. They make the most of them. If you want to compete in Icelandic horse sport," she trailed off. Fleeka snorted and bobbed his head nervously. He didn't like the way that Jones somehow made Philippi look smaller and sound quieter. Fleeka trusted Philippi. She was kind, but she was wary of Jones. That made Fleeka anxious. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other. Jones is like an unexploded volcano, he thought. Fleeka had never seen a volcano, but his best. Friend Galadri told him about one erupting in Iceland when she was a foal, suddenly exploring and spitted fire into the sky, sending the horses skidding down the valley to safety. This man is like that, Fleeka thought, unpredictable. He quietly stepped down from the fence and turned to put some distance between himself and Jones. "Whoa, Fleeka," said Philippi. Fleeka stopped and looked back at her as she walked up and quietly popped to halter over his ears, slapping him a nice, crunchy treat in the process. "Come on," she said. Let's show Mr. Jones what you can do." 6 months early, Philippi had sat on Fleeka for the first time, gently watching him to be a good riding horse like his mom. He had felt really past like himself and let an excited whicker to Galadri look at him. Look at me. I am a proper riding horse now." "I think you will find there are a bit more to do than that," Galadri had nickled back. "You haven't even got out of walk yet." Galadri was wise and kind, but she'd never been even more since Fleeka had been born. When the bigger the foals played rough, she would wave her nose to drive them off. But when Galadri was grazing with the rest of the herd in a paddock nearby, and Fleeka was all grown up and had to look out for himself. When he was tacked up, said Philippi, had checked that everything was comfortable for him, she led him over to Jones. In the school, Jones mounted and Fleeka set off and walked. It felt strange to have a different rider on his back. Jones was much heavier than Philippi, just a bit wobbly. One of the extra gaits is called Tolt, said Philippi. She sat deep and was your lower leg to ask for more impulsion. Fleeka tried to organize his legs in just the ways he was supposed to, making an even 4-beat on the ground, lifting his forelegs that high he might look like he was walking very fast with his back legs and trotting at the front. Fleeka considered it strange that humans thought Icelandic horses had only 5 gaits. He wondered why all his other gaits were not required, such a tolty trot, or the trot with the back legs and canter with his front ones, or his personal favorite, the jiggy-joggy walk, especially useful for when he was in a bit of a hurry but didn't fancy canter. "They are more comfortable for your rider," Galadri had told him. "If you were to be a good riding horse," she had said, "you have to learn how to do their even when gaits that the humans want." "Good," Philippi was saying. It should tuck his back and end and under the push with his hind legs. Yes, and good ease up on his mouth a little. He can carry himself. Yes, that's it. You got it. I've got it, Fleeka thought, but I wish he wouldn't pull on my mouth and wiggle on the saddle. Gradually, his rider became more balanced, and Fleeka could tell that Jones had one of those wrinkly faces, the one that meant humans were happy. The tolting is great, said Jones. Just like gliding along. It is, said Philippi, who was smiling now. He's a good competition prosper with the right training, she added firmly. Fleeka was enjoying showing off his tolt. Now Jones was talking to Philippi. He was fussing less with his hands and legs. Philippi seemed more relaxed too, talking to Jones about training in regiments of Icelandic horse sport. Maybe Jones will be a good rider after all, Fleeka thought, and he wants to take me to competitions. I won't just be a riding horse. I'll be a sport horse too. Philippi called to Marcy, the young girl who helped me at weekend. She waited with Fleeka, watching Philippi taking with Jones as they walked towards his car. After a while, they shook hands and Jones drove away. Fleeka could feel that Marcy was upset, angry. Humans were complicated, and it was hard to know why they were thinking. Sometimes they seemed angry, and then they cried. As Philippi walked over to join Marcy, keep her gaze lowered, her face partly hidden under her long dark hair. What's up? Said Philippi. How can you sell Fleeka to that horrible man? Marcy said. Philippi sighed. You know, you shouldn't always judge people by the gossip you hear. Mr. Jones has been around Icelandic horses that long. I know he can be a bit abrasive, but I'm sure he'll be fine with a few lessons and a bit of help. Marcy said nothing, keeping her face towards Fleeka as she pulled the bridle over his ears. Fleeka held onto the bit for a moment before letting it drop. He stretched his jaw wide, showing all his teeth in a large yawn. Marcy tackled the end of the wrinkled nose with the tips of her fingers and slipped it on his halter. But Fleeka's sensitive, she said. He needs gentle handling. You're 15, said Philippi. Old enough to understand that this is a business. I breed horses, train them, or sell them. You have to get used to it if you want to work in the horse business. But Marcy protested. Marcy, Philippi snapped. Fleeka jerked his head up in surprise at Philippi's sharp tone. I haven't sold a horse since Blishi. I have to live on something. I have to put a lot of work into these horses. It's easy to letting them go. Please don't make this harder for me than it already is. She's teached out and stretched. Fleeka behind his ears, sweaty ears. Fleeka remembered his friend Blasi leaving, but just after he had started his training, Blasi had wanted to go into the stable on wheels by the time Philippi had coaxed him in. Fleeka said the other young horses had gathered around the gate. They whined to him as he was driving away, and he shouted back, and there was nothing they could do to stop him being taken away. You'll be fine, fella, won't you, Philippi? Talking to Fleeka's rope from Marcy, and leading him over to his field gate. Fleeka hoped so. Why don't we get to choose our humans? Fleeka asked his mom as they gazed under the trees that evening. It doesn't work that way, my little Viking horse, she told him. If you're ever lucky, you'll find the human that is perfectly matched to you. You will know what your rider wants you to do, almost before they ask, and they will understand you, as if you horse talk. But I want to stay with you, Fleeka protested, and little brother Ragnar and Gladry and the rest of the herd. I will miss you, but his mom said to you, to a new home, you will have to make your own way. That is how it was for us horses. We don't get to choose. And that is chapter 2 of Little Viking Horse, and I credit this to Little Viking Horse for the first 2 chapters. From Coughlin Hubbard Box, thank you very much for this.